Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the session. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Mark, who is Vice President of NetLaw, for taking time to answer all the questions and also to explain about the overview why will and trust is important in this country. So many from our community don't realize the importance because most of us are first generation in this country. Now we think like everything works in the same way, like as in India, but there are many things which are different here. So that's what, instead of me explaining, I thought let me invite a subject matter expert who knows in and out about will, trust, everything. So, right, initially Mark will explain right what is the importance, and also Netla is one of the top companies in US for this estate planning. They provide they have a great team, great service, and Mark will also explain about NetLaw, how NetLaw can help us to complete all this process within 30 to 40 minutes, which generally takes huge cost and also a lot of time if we have to do it manually. And also, right, once Mark explains, then if any of you have any questions with respect to these documents or with respect to creating a trust or creating a will, Mark will answer those questions. Thanks again, Mark, and welcome to you. And it's all yours, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Kishore. I really appreciate you inviting me, giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone tonight about the importance of estate planning. So let me go ahead and share my presentation with everyone. That way everyone can follow along. And as the screen says, when we think about estate planning, what are we really thinking about? We're really thinking about how do we protect our wealth and our health with estate planning documents. And one thing I think everybody always thinks about when you think about estate planning is will and trust, right? And we're going to talk a lot about will and trust tonight, but we're also going to talk about the other documents that are included in our full probate avoidance package. So let's go ahead and get started. I think the first thing that we probably need to talk about, as Kishore said, my name is Mark Sterneman, and I am the Vice President of NetLaw. So I think the first question, what's NetLaw? So NetLaw is an IT company that was created out of an estate planning law office called the Hargrove Firm in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I'm from, born and raised. And what we did at the law office is, of course, we serve wealth clients, right? You need a lot of money to come in, speak to one of our attorneys, and get your estate planning documents done. But back in 2012, we read in a Bloomberg report that said over 60% of Americans do not have a will, just that one document. Over 60% of Americans didn't have that document. And over 90% didn't have the full suite of documents that you need to have a full comprehensive plan. So we said, okay, well, that's what we do for a living. So why is it that if everyone knows how important having a will is, why is it that people procrastinate on completing these documents? And we did some research, and there were two glaring reasons. One, cost, right? It's very expensive to come in and see one of our attorneys and have him or her create your estate planning documents. But I think the second reason that we found was even a little bit more scarier. No one wanted to go see an attorney anymore, right? You think about it, we live in a technology age now. So pretty much anything that you want to do, you can do online. You can buy a house online now. You can buy a car online. You can refi online. So we said, okay, well, why can't we offer our clients the ability to create their estate planning documents online using a software? Great idea, right? But how do we do it? So we went out and we hired attorneys in all 50 states. So NetLaw has attorneys in all 50 states. And what we did is we took a lead attorney from each state and we said, we need you to create your specific state documents for our software. So no matter where you live at now, or wherever you move to, you have the ability to use our software to create state-specific legal documents. The same documents you would get in an attorney's office, you get through our software at a much discounted rate. We won the James Keene Award from the American Bar Association. That's an important award for us because this award is given out to the company that has the best online delivery of legal documents. And I'll say that again. The best online delivery of legal documents. And still to this day, we are the only ones in estate planning to win this award. So very honored to have won that award from the American Bar Association. So let's look at all the documents that you get. And you can see our premium package is $600, and the documents are for both spouses. So one plan allows both spouses to create their full suite of documents. And we'll run through these documents just to kind of give you a reason of why are they so important, right? Why do I need them? And then later on, we'll talk about what happens if I don't have these documents, right? So let's go through the plan. Let's talk about why these documents are so important for everyone. And of course, like I said in the beginning, when you think about estate planning, most people think will and trust. So the key thing to remember is the will and the trust, two separate documents that do two totally different things. So I've totally separated them. So let's talk about the will first. There's 4 reasons why we do a will. Number 1, we're going to name executors, someone who is going to be in control, someone who's going to be in charge when we pass away. Now, not only will we name a main executor, but we will name successors or alternates as well. So if the main person can't do it, then we always have backups. Of course, these people need to be over the age of 18, and we would prefer that they be someone here from the US in case something happens to you unexpectedly. They can step right in and start taking care of things. So your executor, number 1 reason why we have a will. Number 2, guardians. So if you are a parent of an underage child or children, what happens if you and your spouse pass away before the child or children turn 18, right? Who's going to take care of them, right? Who's going to have custody of them? This is, again, where we get to name a main guardian and then alternates as well, right? Again, they have to be over the age of 18. And of course, with you living over here, it's very important to have one of those people from your state or at least here in the US. The third reason is we're going to list all of our assets and who those beneficiaries are. It's very important to make sure that we list this so that everyone knows, when I pass away, here's who's getting what. So those 3 documents, very important for the will and trust, the executors, the guardians, and we're going to list our assets and who those beneficiaries are. The 4th reason is the second line item there. It's a children's trust. And this is for those parents who have children under the age of 18. Both parents pass away before the child turns 18. Do you want that child to receive their inheritance at age 18? Or would you rather spread that out over time? Most families say, you know what? Yeah, 18, I get it. They're a legal adult, but still maybe a little bit too immature to handle the amount of cash that's going to come into their door right away, right? So with this children's trust, we can take their inheritance and spread it out over time. We call it protection from the grave, but it's a great way for us to still stay in control to make sure that we're still looking after our children. Third line item there is our financial power of attorney. Of course, we all know what that is, right? Naming someone who can make our financial decisions for us if we can't make them ourselves, whether we're sick, we're in the hospital, maybe we went back overseas, maybe you went home to India for 3 weeks, a month, whatever. Something happens over here, that power of attorney can make your financial decisions for you while you're away. The next 3 documents are our healthcare documents. And remember on that first screen, it said protecting our wealth and our health. This is the healthcare part of it. Healthcare surrogate is your medical POA. Who's going to speak on your behalf to the doctors and nurses if you're in the hospital, if you have a doctor's appointment and you can't speak for yourself. HIPAA authorization works hand in hand with your healthcare surrogate because this is the person that you're going to grant access to your medical charts. Any kind of psychotherapy notes or anything like that, these people will have access to those charts. And the last one is the advance directive. In some states, it's a living will, but this is your end of life decisions, right? Hey, what do you want to do when that time comes and it's the end of life? Do you want to be put on life support or no? Right? Do you want an autopsy or no? Right? There's a lot of things that we have to think about, and each state asks different healthcare questions. So, depending on what state you're in, you could get a lot of questions or maybe just 2 or 3. We even have a pet trust. So if you're a pet lover or have a pet and you pass away, someone has to take care of that animal. You can leave money behind for the care of that animal. And then the revocable living trust, probate avoidance. This is where we're going to talk about the trust now and why it's so important. The trust allows us to transfer our major assets like home, cars, boats, vacation homes. It allows us to take those assets out of our individual name and into the name of the trust. We want to do that for one reason, avoiding probate. So probate is the process where when you pass away without a trust, all of your assets are frozen by the government, and there's a certain amount of time that creditors have to come in and file a claim on your estate. Now, I'm in Kentucky. Our time is 6 months. I've seen it where some states are all the way up to a year. So making sure that those assets are transferred into the name of the trust, that keeps everything private. Creditors can't find that. And those assets avoid probate and are passed to our beneficiaries right away. How important is that for your home, cars, boats, vacation homes, right? Are really big ticket items, right? So making sure that we have the ability to avoid probate for our beneficiaries so that they receive those assets, I think it's the most important thing we do here. And we always have a 7-day money back guarantee. So if you try it out and you don't like it for any reason, we'll refund your money as long as you haven't downloaded your documents. If you've downloaded your documents, they're your documents, right? This whole package, $600 for both spouses. Just by way of comparison, in our law office, this plan usually starts at about $2,500 to $3,000. We also have a special needs trust. So if you're a parent of a special needs child or you know someone who is, you can create a special needs trust for them. This is a third-party special needs trust. That means anyone can leave an asset to the special needs person via their special needs trust so that the trust now owns that asset, not the individual, because as you may or may not know, if you are receiving federal funding from the government, you can only acquire so much money in a given year. But if the asset comes to the trust, again, that's private. So that person can receive that asset and still receive federal funding from the government. Our special needs trust is $750, and it comes with all the instructions. The one great thing about this plan is you have the ability to go in and edit all of the documents except the special needs trust. Special needs trust is irrevocable. That means you can't change it once you create it. But all the other documents that we talked about, you can go in and change them at any time. So I'm not going to go through this whole screen, but you can see these are reasons why you would ever go in and change your documents in the first place. Maybe you have a new child or a grandchild, right? We want to add those into our documents. Or I love talking about relocation to a new state. So if you're in New Mexico now, you do all of your documents, everything's great, and you get a new job in Texas. Not a big deal. You just move to Texas, you log back into your account, you change your address in your My Profile section. The software will update the Texas documents. You just run through and create the documents again. Print them out, get them witnessed and notarized, and you're done. There's never any fee to edit your documents, change any documents, create your documents after the initial payment. There's no monthly minimums. There's no monthly maintenance fees, no reinstatement fees, anything like that. You pay the one fee and your account is open and active for your lifetime. So we've talked about what NetLaw is and why we were created. And we've talked about all of the documents and why they're so important. And we've even talked about you can edit these documents free of charge, right? So the next 4 slides, and these will be my last 4 slides, and then we'll answer any questions that you have. But now we're going to talk about everything that we just talked about. But what happens if we don't have these documents? What happens, right? So the first thing that I always talk to my clients about when they come in is, hey, let's make sure that your assets get to the individuals of your choosing, right? We want to stay in control of everything when we pass. Who's getting our assets, right? So if you don't have a will, what most people don't know is your state has one for you. It's called intestate. And what they say is, hey, you didn't have a will. You didn't tell us how you wanted your assets distributed. So we're going to distribute them for you. And the way that they distribute them, every state has different intestate rules. Mine in Kentucky is my individually owned assets. 50% would go to my spouse, 50% would go to my kids right away. That's not how I really wanted my assets distributed. Of course, I want everything to go to my spouse. And then when he or she passes away, most people say, now I can go to the kids. But making sure that we stay in control is the key theme here. Making sure that everything that we've worked for gets to the people of our choosing, not your states. And again, this is always the first thing that I talk about, unless I know that my client has children under the age of 18. Then this is the very first thing that I talk about. Without a will, you didn't list a guardian. If you and your spouse pass away before those kids turn 18, a judge will come in and decide who gets custody of your kids. Not only custody, but this will be the person that is also in control of their inheritance. So, very important, and I think we can all agree that we're the best judge of character to say, here's who I want to raise my kids, not some judge. You know, we don't want a judge deciding this, right? We don't want the government making any decisions for us, let alone who's going to have custody of our kids. So always the first thing that I talk about if I know my clients have children under the age of 18. We talked about how important it was to avoid probate by creating that revocable living trust. But if you've ever known anyone who has went through probate, they will tell you it's not a good thing, right? So probate is very time consuming. It's very expensive. You have to hire an attorney because someone will have to go to court and, you know, these creditors are going to come in. They have to be paid first. If anyone's contesting the will, we have to take care of that first before any asset can get distributed. But like I said earlier, if that asset is transferred out of your individual name and into the name of the trust, it will avoid probate automatically. How important is that? Making sure that our family members receive our assets in a timely fashion, there's nothing better than that. And my last screen is those medical decisions. I will always say that the healthcare documents are just as important as the medical documents, or I'm sorry, the financial documents. You know, it's so important to have that medical power of attorney. Who's going to speak for you if you can't speak for yourself? Hey, you know, let's be honest. You know, we're all going to get older. There's going to be times that our mind's not as sharp. We need to make sure that someone can speak with that doctor or the nurse about what's going on and the advanced directives. Hey, if anything happens to you, what do you want us to do? Right? We don't want to leave it up to the hospital. We want to be in control. Here's what I want to happen. Here's what I don't want to happen. Right? So again, keeping you in control is the whole theme for tonight. So these are your documents. These are your choices. This is why we do this, to make sure that the next generation receives our assets in a timely manner and the most cost-effective. Kishore, I'll stop here. And if there's any questions that anyone has, please let me know. I guess you could just unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat bar if you want. So yeah, this is your time. So ask me anything.
Sure, Mark. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for that explanation on why it is so important, because, right, especially nowadays, we see some GoFundMe's and right, very engaged, right, of 30s, 40s, because of stress and other things, getting into these heart attacks, other things.
Exactly.
And especially in our community, women feel like yeah, it is men's responsibility. They have to take care of all the financials, everything. Some of them don't even have an ATM card, or they are not part of a joint account. So yeah, I know many families who went through the pain. So that's why I wanted to share these important concepts with our community. And yeah, thanks for explaining all those. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, either you can raise hand and then I can unmute you and you can ask your questions to Mark, or you can also post your questions in the chat window, whichever you feel easy for you can do that.
this is the time to ask. So please ask away.
Yeah. Once I have will and trust, whom should I share the documents or where should I store them?
Yeah. So inside your NetLaw plan, there's a tab called My Files. These are where you will print out your documents. And also you can, once you print them out, you'll get them witnessed and notarized. You can scan them back in there and create a folder. I created a folder in mine that said signed and notarized documents. And I just stored mine back in there. So you can store them back into your NetLaw plan. But I shared, I shared my documents with my adult children and my executor, who is my brother. So yeah, I would share it with your executors, your guardians, and maybe any adult children. Keep your hard copy maybe in a safety deposit box, or if you have a safe at home, that would be a great place for it.
Do we need to notarize all the documents?
Yes, yes. There are some states where a document may not need to be notarized, but you'll recognize that because the last page of each document, that's where you get the document notarized. If there's no notarization language, then you don't have to worry about it.
Can I add my family members in India as guardians?
Absolutely. As long as they're over the age of 18, you can. But remember, it's important to have someone over here as well, at least listed as one of your alternates, just in case anything happens. They can go grab the kids because it may take a while for the people in India to get over here. So you always have a backup that can go and grab those kids if anything happens. What control does the executors have on the will to alter for good or bad reasons? They can't. They can't alternate at all. All you're doing is just giving them a copy of your paperwork. Even if they broke into your system and changed things, they would still have to go and get the documents witnessed and notarized. And of course, every notary will ask you for your license and they will see that it's not you. So there's nothing that they can really do. How to get started with this package? Get with Kishore. He will share, I'm sure he's going to share all of his information at the end. So yeah, you can't come to us and buy this. We only sell this through financial agents like Kishore.
Do we need to register the documents with county or with the state?
So you don't have to right now. Your executor will file these with the court system when you pass away. Because right now you don't want to do it because you may change it later and then you're just doing it 3 and 4 times and there's really no reason to do that. Your executor, that's one of their jobs, is to file it with the county clerk's office in the records department once you pass away.
How to get okay? I know that in some will and trust documents it asks to keep your online account passwords. How to keep up with changes in the password?
Yeah, you can. So, it's always a good idea to keep your password safe and secure. You can store that, like for me, I write all mine down on a piece of paper and mine are actually saved in my file section of my plan. So my kids know the password to my account so they can get in and get everything. Plus I have another one that's saved in my safety deposit box as well. Big thing about that is, every time I change a password, I have to go change that. So, it is a little bit difficult to keep up with at the bank, but for my online account, it's real easy.
Do I need to change these documents if I move from one state to other? And how do
Yes,
we update these documents through NetLaw? And do we need to pay the fee again?
right. No, you won't pay the fee again. So, you'll just log back into your account. In your My Profile section, you'll change the state that you live in. And the software will update to that state's documents. You just go back through, answer all the questions again, print out your documents and get them witnessed and notarized. So it's a one-time fee, and then you have unlimited changes to your account.
Yeah, yeah, you answered that question. Any other questions anyone would like to know? Because yeah, Mark is the SME, so any questions which you have related to this estate planning? Can we include both spouses' properties from India in our will? If yes, do the property needs to be on the trust name?
Yeah. So yes, you want to list all of your properties. So if you own property and your spouse owns a different property, yeah, you can put yours in your will. She can put hers in her will. If you want to include it in the trust, the deed transfer would have to happen in India. But I'll tell you what most people do is they will create their will and trust over here for their US assets and then create another will and trust for India. That's usually what most people do. But if you wanted to do a deed transfer into the name of your US trust, you could. It just has to happen in India.
Mm, I think yeah, you answered all the questions, Mark.
All
But
right.
if yeah, anyone would like to, it seems like me and my spouse need different will and trust.
Yeah. So you and your spouse will create different wills. So everybody needs their own separate documents. If you live in a community property state, you could do a joint trust with your spouse. So you will see that when you start to fill out your documents. If you live in a community property state, it will ask you if you want to do a joint trust with your spouse. If you don't live in a community property state, then it won't ask you at all. And both of you will create your separate trust. Yes, it's mandatory to have different wills. Absolutely. Each one of you needs your own separate wills. California is a community property state, so you could do a joint trust with your spouse.
What suggestions can you provide for assigning power of attorney and assigning guardians for our children, family, or friends?
Yeah, it would be, that's totally your choice. I don't know your family or your friends. So this is why they're your documents, right? So for your guardians, who do you feel is the best choice to raise your kids if you and your spouse pass away? That would be your decision. Same with your power of attorney too. Who do you trust the most in this situation?
So,
Texas is a community property state too. I think that's what they're asking.
yeah.
And then something about needing help.
How much information
Oh
have?
yeah, if we have any questions. Yeah. So if you have any questions, there's a chat bar in the upper right-hand corner of your plan. You can do that. Talk with one of my team members. And if we do need to, we can turn that chat into a video call so they can see your screen and we can help you. Or always get with Kishore as well, because he can answer a lot of questions too.
In the scenario that the guardian named is from a different state, what would happen?
Yeah, nothing. They would just come and they could, if you and your spouse pass away, they could come and collect the children and just, show their copy of the will that they're the guardians and they can take care of the kids.
How much information, financial and personal information, we need to share with power of attorney?
Well, you're definitely going to want to, if something happens to you, they need to know, what banks do you use? Make sure that they have a copy of the will or of the power of attorney so that they can show the different creditors that they're going to be writing checks for you or they're going to be taking care of your bank information. So yeah, any financial matters that you want them to handle, they need to know, what usually what accounts and what accounts you have and where are they at.
Yeah. Can we change the trust name later for any reasons?
Only if it's in a community property state. If it's not, then no, it's just going to be the revocable living trust of your name.
Target filled.
Uh, Bala raised his hand. Yeah, Bala, please go ahead.
Yeah, so when we change our location, so what happens to the will? Should we update it or how?
What happens to the first will and trust?
Yeah, so when I move to a different location from one location
Right.
to different state,
Yeah, so the newest will and trust that you create will have the most up-to-date date on it. So that one will supersede the other one.
so when I move to the new location, I need to again create a new will and trust.
Absolutely. If you're changing states, you need to create a new will and trust and all your documents because
Uh,
every
do-
state has different rules and
okay.
regulations.
Or,
Yeah, so
or I just can update the existing one, only the address or something.
I don't understand the question.
No. Can I just update only the address on the will
No,
and
because
trust?
it's going to ask different
Oh.
states ask different questions in the software. It's not the same
Okay,
question.
got it.
That's why we have attorneys in all 50 states because every
Okay.
state is different.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So when I create again a new one, I need to pay the same.
No, you don't have to
600?
change anything or pay anything.
Oh,
Once you have your account, you can make any changes you want.
oh, that's nice. Okay, okay.
Would the guardian need to register the will with the state they are from, or the state the will holder is from at the time of death?
No, yeah, from the client state.
Can we bring in LLCs into the trust? If any issues in LLC, will it impact the trust?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you can transfer your trust into the LLC. I would always, for your business, it's a lot more complicated to transfer a full business into the trust than just your property. So I would always, if you're a business owner, go ahead and talk to your CPA. I would maybe even reach out to an attorney just to make sure that this is the right move for you. That would be my suggestion.
So if we change country, for example, to India or for Canada or something, will any of these documents will be useful or?
No, these are only US documents.
Mhm.
Now you could keep them if you're keeping your property over here, but you move back home, then you would keep your US will and trust because you still have property over here. But if you're leaving everything, you've sold everything and you're moving back, yeah, then no, these documents won't transfer over to a different country.
Mhm. When we add a new property to the trust, does it need to be re-notarized again?
Yes, because you're going to add that into your will under other property. And you're going to have to get, and what I would do at closing of that new property, have the title company create the deed in the name of the trust already. That way you don't have to go and fund that property into your trust. The title company can already do that for you.
How easy it is to create a will if the couple are residents of two different states?
Yeah, the same. That's actually one of the questions is, does your spouse live with you? If not, then you write his or her address down. So the software will pull up, Texas for you and maybe Kentucky for her, right? So yeah, it allows you to do that.
Any other questions? Some great questions and yeah, new questions. Is the online website open for everyone so that they can make updates or any changes? Should I connect with the financial agent?
Once you have this software, these are your documents. So you have unlimited access to your account.
Right. So you don't need to contact
But you
me.
but you have to purchase this through Kishore.
Right. So generally, right, as Mark mentioned, it is generally $600 for the software to create all these documents for both wife and husband. But right again, our intention or objective is to get all the families protected from any of this type of risk. So we are basically offering it for $300. So you don't need to, right? You are merely getting 50% discount. With
Oh, wow.
300, you can get documents for right 6 to 7 documents for you and your spouse, and you can make unlimited changes. There are no other renewal fee or anything. You don't need to make any even after 1 year or so. You can make unlimited changes throughout the period. So yeah, right. You can send me an email on kishore.ramaraju@gmail.com, and I can help you to send you the voucher and send you all the steps and instructions on how to complete the document. And if you need any assistance, yeah, I can help you, or one of my team members, or Mark's team is there. They have a great customer support. We all are here to help you to complete the documents. Again, it won't take more than 1 hour, but it will be a great task which everybody should right, complete it. Right, we should not take it easy, thinking that nothing will happen to us. We every day we see some news or something or other. We don't, right. When we take care of things, nothing will happen. When we are not planned, then only the major risks will happen. So it is better to plan and have them in place. So yeah, I one last question. I have a MetLife legal plan through my employer. Can I use my legal plan to work with you?
You can ask your HR department if you purchase the NetLaw plan, can you get reimbursed? And so instead of using MetLife, you would use NetLaw, and we could provide a receipt for you on your purchase. And if your if your HR department will allow it, they could refund you back the purchase price. But you would have to talk to your HR team first to make sure that they would do that for you.
So I think that's all the questions for today, tonight, Mark.
Thank you.
One more. Can we write a will such that local guardian has to hand over the children and power of the trust to a guardian in India?
Yeah, so you would list whoever you ultimately want to have custody of the kids. Those would be your main people. Your alternates can just fill in the row until the main person can get over here.
Cool. Yeah, I'll also share the recording. So in case if you want to refer anything again, you can always do that. And yeah, you can reach me on kishore.ramaraju@gmail.com in case if you have any further questions, or if you want to get the NetLaw documents or vouchers. And thanks, Mark. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is yeah, great, and thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. Have a nice rest of the day, rest of the evening.